Everybody, welcome back to our fabulous series of interviews that somehow mysteriously started in COVID and have continued, mostly because we keep having exciting and interesting people in the industry who we want to hear more about. As you all know, I usually invite people that I don't know a whole lot about. Turns out this time I know these people fairly well, but they have some really interesting things they're doing, and I think the industry as a whole could benefit from what they're doing out in the world. So today I'm welcoming Ted Gibson and Jason Backe. If you don't know them, I'll let them introduce themselves here in a second. But as usual, we're just going to walk down a path and sort of see what's going on with them. And you will be able to send in questions to them on things that you might have after you hear what they have to say through our website, and we will get answers for everybody. So welcome. I think it looks like you are in a beautiful backdrop of Hollywood, and I think that actually is where you are. So if you two want to introduce yourselves and tell me a little bit about, what you're doing today, like how you got where you are today, and just whatever you think this audience might be open to hearing or might be good for them. We'll start with you, Ted, or Jason.
Jason. Go first. Jason's going to go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Hi, my name is Jason Backe. Thank you so much for having Ted and I here today. Let's see. I am originally from northern Minnesota. I went to college in North Dakota for a couple of years, and then I moved to Minneapolis, and I actually worked for a nonprofit where I was traveling around the world for a couple of years. Then I went to a couple of different community colleges in Minneapolis, and I never felt successful in that traditional learning style. And I was riding in the backseat of a car with a friend who was a hairdresser, and he said, "Why don't you go to beauty school?" And I was like, okay. And the day that I walked into the Aveda Institute, that was then called the Horst Education Center for Fashion, Beauty, Wellness, and Art in Minneapolis, I felt like when Dorothy's house lands in Oz and everything went from black and white to Technicolor. And I for the first time probably in my life, I felt like, these are my people. I'm with my people. And that launched me in so many different directions, because first, it's where I met Ted Gibson. He was one of my instructors at the Horst Education Center.
Don't judge.
Hot for teacher.
Don't judge.
And second, it really set me on a course for this profession. After beauty school, I worked for a salon in Minneapolis called John English. John and his wife, Linda, had still have a very successful business in Minneapolis. John was a protege of Horst also, and so I learned a lot from them. And it's interesting because they're a married couple that have a salon. We ended up being a married couple that has a salon. So I learned from John and Linda not only how to be a great hair cutter and a great colorist, but also watching them, I think I learned a lot about what it means to be a married couple running a business together.
Yeah, I think that sounds hard. I mean,
yeah, well, I think for a lot of people it is hard. I don't think it's hard. We have hard moments for sure, but we have different visions of success. Like the way that I feel successful is very different than the way that Ted feels successful. So we're never competing for the same spotlight. We're always.
That's a good way to explain it.
Oh, thank you. After that, Ted and I moved to New York. I worked for Aveda for 6 years at the salon on West Broadway. I got really busy, thought that I knew everything in the world and that I could do it better than the people that I was working for. And so we decided to open our own salon, and that was on Fifth Avenue in the Flatiron, which then became the Flatiron District. We had that business for 13 years, along with a salon in Fort Lauderdale at the W Hotel and a salon in Washington, D.C. We ended up closing all of it, decided that we needed to do something different to be inspired. I think we surprised the industry as a whole by our decision to close something that seemed to be really successful. And we loaded up the truck and we moved to Los Angeles, where we have opened Starring, which is the world's first smart salon. And most recently, we have launched the Worth Up Alliance, which is an opportunity for Ted and I, along with other industry leaders, to take our years of experience and pay it forward to up and coming beauty entrepreneurs.
All right, well, I'm going to ask you more about that in about 5 minutes. But
Okay.
all right, Ted, I want to hear about you. Like I have often been known to say that I am not a starstruck person.
Oh.
I'm typically not, mostly because I don't recognize stars. Like they can sit next to me on a plane and I don't recognize who they are. Out of context, I can't figure out who anyone is. But the first time I got an email that you were on the email group, I said to my boss, oh, Ted Gibson's on this email. I was so excited because I am a long ago fan of What Not to Wear. And I loved how you made women feel on that show, that everybody had a way to be beautiful and that it wasn't dependent on the looks you were born with necessarily or what you could do. So to me, I was a little starstruck. So now you get to tell me how I got starstruck with you. Tell me your story.
That's so nice. I appreciate that. I have, my moon is in Leo. So if you're wondering why I like to have spotlight on me, it's because, because my moon is in Leo. But I can just tell you that I'm really, really, really grateful that I have in my life have seized opportunities, because I really believe that that's really what life is about. And for me, I grew up and my dad was in the Army, in the military. Every 3 years we would travel. I'm an only child. I say that I'm from Texas because that was the place that I lived the longest of anywhere else, besides New York City, over 20 years. But that experience of, I believe, moving to different places really helped me to adjust to things really easily and rapidly, because I had to go and make friends and then leave those friends and move somewhere else and make friends, leave those friends and move somewhere else. And I believe that that experience really helped me again to adapt to different situations. So unlike how Jason was just talking about when he decided that he was going to go to beauty school, a good friend of mine was a hairdresser, or is a hairdresser, and he drove a great car and had a fantastic apartment and really amazing clothes. And I said to him one New Year's Eve, I said, Ron, I thought about being a hairdresser. And he said, oh my God, you should do it. You'd be great at it. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, you'd be great at it. I had no idea that that was something that I was going to do in my life, because I remember as a kid wanting to play with hair, but my dad was not allowing me to do that. So I remember how when I picked up those pair of shears and I picked up that comb to cut someone's hair, and how it tingled all the way from the top of my head all the way to my toes, and how that experience, I knew that this was the place I needed to be. So I was really grateful for listening to that opportunity about going to beauty school. I went to barber school first. And that was in Austin, Texas. And I worked for a woman, her name is Zan Ray. And Zan actually is still my coach today after 30 some odd years. I never trust a person that doesn't have a coach, because I think that we all need guidance regardless of who we are and what kind of success we've had. And I worked for her for about 3 years, but Ron used to work for her. So that's how I got introduced to them. And Zan was the most expensive haircut in Austin. She had an Aveda concept salon in Austin, Texas. And I would go into the salon before I started working there. And, all the guys had cowboy hats on and Wrangler jeans and cowboy boots. And all the girls looked super hot. Like everybody was super hot. I'm like, okay, this is something else. This is where I need to be. And I worked for Zan for about 3 years, and then moved to Minneapolis to work for what was called the Horse Education Center. And that's how Jason and I met. And I'm in my fiber of every fiber of my being, I always wanted to be famous, and I didn't know what that looked like. And I remember when I was in barber school, I said, I'm going to work on stars someday, but I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea. So as Jason and I were together, I was a teacher at Horse Education Center, which turned into the Aveda Institute. And then I became a global educator for Aveda. So I traveled the globe, spreading the message about Aveda and doing haircutting classes and highly textured hair classes. And then Horst came to me and said, Ted, I think that you should move to New York. And I came home super excited about it to tell Jason. Jason's like, no, I'm not moving to New York. So Horst asked me on three different occasions. And I came home and I said, Jason, I said, Horst is not going to ask me again. This is it. We have to move. So we moved. And essentially, again, listening to the opportunity of people who really believe in you, that maybe see something in you that you don't necessarily see in yourself. And Horst definitely was that person. He said, you know, you should move to New York. You can do editorial. You can do fashion shows in Europe. And moved, and that's exactly what happened. I taught at the school. I became an editorial hairdresser, which turned into the most incredible editorial career from every major magazine you could think of. And then this was when models were still on the covers of magazines. And then it started to be about celebrity, and I didn't really want to do celebrity. And the first really big celebrity job I had was to fly to London to do the covers of Cosmo and Marie Claire in the same day with Angelina Jolie and Patrick de Marchillier, and everything was kind of history. And as Jason said, we opened 3 salons. We're on our 4th salon now, and I continue to work diligently in my craft, and I continue to think about what's next, and that is really helping beauty entrepreneurs live their dreams.
So I love what you both have said. I love a couple of things. There's something you both said that I can identify with, was that moment where you think, this is where I'm meant to be. It's sort of an aha moment where you all of a sudden feel like you're in the right place in life. And I think a lot of young people float around trying to figure out what that, you know, it's sort of like waiting to fall in love. And as we all know, you don't just fall into love. You try out a few things, you figure out what love looks like for you, right? And I think the same thing to some extent is true with our careers. I remember my dad was a doctor, and every time I would walk into the hospital with him, even as a little kid, you know, my blood would start running. I was like, oh, I love this place. Every time there was a medical show on, I love this place. So for me, when my initial education wasn't in nursing. That was my 2nd degree, because I knew I wasn't in the right place for me. I had a degree in economics of all things, right? And so, because I love talking to people and making something complicated like your body seem very simple. So I identify strongly with what you both said about that. But I also love that you admitted to wanting to be famous. Like, a lot of people would shy away from that. A lot of people would say, oh, you know, people just kept lifting me up, and they would shy away from the fact that they had a dream. Like, I one day thought, I want to be famous, you know, and that's what I was striving for. And along the way, I took some chances to get there. So I commend both of you. I think what you guys do is amazing. I also think that you have negotiated being business partners and being partners in such a way that is really a compliment to each other. I mean, I see that all the time with you guys. I follow you both on Instagram, and I love that Ted on his story always has wow-isms, and I a lot of times will pause the story just to read them, because to me that's identifies somebody who's trying every day to like grow and think about something in a different way. Jason and I have had some conversations about things that maybe we initially didn't agree upon, and then, you know, being open to hearing what other people have to say. I think that speaks well for both you guys. That said, I love this new thing. Your hair, all your hair stuff's great. It's all wonderful, and you're famous for a reason. And by the way, you went to the most expensive haircut in Austin to now what I think is probably the most expensive haircut in LA. Bravo for you that you can do that. But, getting there wasn't easy, and you guys learned some lessons, and those lessons led you to the Worth Up Alliance. So I want you to spend a little bit of time telling everybody out there. We have tons of people who will be watching this that are just kind of maybe a little bit stuck. Like, you know, I've been working for this employer for, you know, 4 or 5 years. I feel like I have something more to offer the world. I want to start my own business. Whatever those things are that you think Worth Up could help with, take it away. Tell me what it is.
Well,
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that so much.
And it's really funny that you acknowledged Ted saying that he always wanted to be famous, because I never wanted to be famous, but I wanted the famous people to know who I was and invite me to their parties and come to my parties. So it's been kind of a good, like, you know, but it's 2 ways, you know?
We're going to a party tonight.
Yeah, we're going to, should be kind of fun. It's Justin and Hailey Bieber and Snoop, and it should be good. But we're so glamorous.
We don't have those parties in Kansas City.
You know, I think what you said really hit the nail on the head. And the birth of the Worth Up Alliance actually came from that same feeling of sort of feeling stuck. You know, I've been coloring hair for 25 years, 26 years, and I've been less and less and less passionate about being behind the chair with a client all day long. Like right now, I'm totally happy doing 2 clients a week, you know, just to keep my fingers in it, to be excited about that moment with my client and to keep it fresh. But I got to a point in my career where I felt like, okay, I've done this. I've represented manufacturers. I've taught classes all over the country on big stage, on small stages. I've been on TV. I've done all of this stuff around hair color. Like, what else is it? What else is there? And that's sort of where Worth Up Alliance, part of it came from, is trying to think about what I want to do next. And I discovered what I want to do next, like Ted said, is really take these years of experience and figure out a way to pay it forward, so that when there is someone who, like me, you know, when I was about to leave Aveda, felt like I was the busiest guy in the salon. I don't know if everyone that worked with me thought this, but I thought I was the most fun guy to be around. I was really excited. You know, Ted had just been discovered as a celebrity hairdresser because of Angie. And so there was a lot of buzz, and it was a really good time. I had interviewed at other places. I interviewed with Nick Arojo for like the 3rd time. I interviewed with Rodney Cutler. And I sort of came to this realization, like, okay, I can keep doing the same thing in a different place, or I can do something else. And that's when we decided to open a salon. And what really happened was we went from the frying pan into the fire. I didn't know that it took, at that time, 5 to 7 days from the time someone swiped a credit card for the money to hit your bank account. So our first payroll, I had to borrow $5,000 from my mom and dad to make sure that our first payroll didn't bounce, because I didn't know that.
And why is that? Because we weren't trained. We
didn't have mentors. There was no one for us to go to. There was no opportunity to learn beyond what I learned on my own. And so the Worth Up Alliance, we've discovered 3 significant challenges. Challenge number 1 is lack of business education. In our industry for the hairdresser, there's tons of technical information out there. There's not a lot of business information. Challenge number 2, there's not enough mentorship and networking for brand new entrepreneurs. Sure, once you're successful and you have $1 million business, then you get to join these elite clubs and network with each other about all kinds of things that are going on. But as a brand new entrepreneur, it's really challenging. It's not like we can just go up to, you know, the salon down the street and ask for how they did it, you know, because there's that kind of competition between us. So that lack of opportunity for networking and mentoring. And then the third thing is it's really hard to get capital. You know, it's really hard for someone who's been working behind the chair, became really, really successful behind the chair, to demonstrate that they're worthy of a $250,000 loan to start a brand new business with no business degree, no business experience, no whatever. Not to mention the fact that 95 to 98% of investment firms have 0 people of color that they are giving money to or investing into. There's a commercial on television right now from Amazon that says that 6% of all retail businesses in America are Black owned. 6%. So we recognize this challenge of inequity in funding for women, for people of color, for people with a smaller amount of education. And those are the things that we are going to address.
I love it. Oh
I do too. I think, you know, when I hear you talking about it, I think that this lack of, you learn a lot of technical skills, but even at that, when a cosmetologist gets out of school, universally across the country, no matter how many hours they go to school, everyone says they're not ready yet. You know, like they have to learn behind the chair. I often say on my first day out of nursing school, you did not want me to be your nurse. Like, I but I might have killed you, right? And sort of mentoring, you know, where you have 6 months as with a preceptor, you know, if you're in a critical care area, is something that isn't really organic to every aspect of the beauty industry. So you're right. You know, they just kind of graduate and they might just drop them off and say, there you go, get in the pool and start swimming. I think the other thing too, from a financial standpoint, I was looking up something not too long ago for a question that somebody asked me. And one of the things I also discovered is that because people have a lot of student loan debt associated with cosmetology school, a lot of students do, it makes it even harder for them, even though they're maybe making their payments on their loans, they still have that debt. And it makes it harder for them to get that capital. So they may be the most talented, they may be able to do a great business, but they just, there's all these, you know, roadblocks in their way. So tell me how you're going to fix it.
I mean, Jason talked about those three things, and the thing that as an entrepreneur, and I didn't really realize that I'm a beauty entrepreneur too, and all of the successes that we've had over the last 20 something years of being in business together. Yes, there's been really successes and some failures too, you know, and, you know, I'm just going to call it a failure because a lot of people say, well, it's learn. Well, yeah, you learn, but at the same time, I am not upset that I failed. I'm upset that I didn't learn from it. So if I didn't learn from it, that's shame on me. So the things that I think are really important about how the Worth Up Alliance can make such a big difference is that we are a program of Beauty Changes Lives, and Beauty Changes Lives is really focused on scholarships for people to go to beauty school. We're on the other end of that. And what I mean by the other end of that is we are here as a resource to help beauty entrepreneurs live their dreams. It's really as simple as that. You know, through all of those things that are really important, mentorship. You know, if I didn't have Zan in my life when I came out of beauty school and decided I wanted to be famous, and she taught me how to cut hair, she taught me how to great shampoo. If I didn't have that mentor, if I didn't have Horst as a mentor who really taught me how to dress hair and how to build a brand, if I didn't have those people in my life, I don't know where I would be. So I think it's really important to have
taught you ROI,
yes,
taught you like
all of those things,
cost of good, like all of these things that people taught. You know, the first time I went to a business class, we had, our salon was an Aveda Concept salon when we first opened it. And Virginia Meyer was standing up on the stage and she was talking about the P&L, the P&L, the P&L, the P&L, the P&L, the P&L. And everyone's like, oh yeah, the P&L, the P&L. And I'm in the back of the room and I raise my hand and she's like, yeah, Jason, you have a question? I said, yeah, what's a P&L? I didn't know that a P&L was your profit and loss statement. I didn't know that COGS meant cost of goods. I didn't know that ROI meant return on investment. You know, there's all of these things that we had to learn going along. And so at the Worth Up Alliance, we have created solutions for those challenges. The first challenge was the lack of business education. So we have created the Worth Up Alliance Entrepreneurial Video Library, which just launched a week ago Monday on our brand new website that is very sexy and cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. worthupalliance.org.
Okay, we'll make sure and get that out to everybody.
Every other Monday, there's a brand new video launched. The videos are digestible. They're not tedious. It's 25 to 40 minutes long. And it's with people who have already done it. So for example, one of our first interviews that we launched was with Candy Shaw. If you don't know Candy Shaw, she's the Bali Lama. If you don't know the Bali Lama, you know clay-based lightener. And if you know clay-based lightener, you gotta know that Candy Shaw was the first person to bring it to market. And you have to know her story, because her story about how she created this clay-based lightener for balayage is remarkable.
It'll make your head spin.
It'll make your head spin. We talked, the next one that we launched is a woman named Dion Phillips, who is known as D Lashes. She was the pioneer of lash extensions.
Yep.
She helped create the whole category of lash extensions.
Yep.
And she talks about why she chose to run her business out of a salon suite instead of working for someone else in a commission-based salon or spa. We have a great interview with Sergio Rivera, who just won the Academy Award for Best Makeup for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. remarkable story talking about having $9 when he moved to the US, or some small amount like that, and how he had to really pay his dues to get into the union, how he had to, there's people who say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And people will use that it's who you know as a crutch, instead of, if I don't know the right people, I need to go to different places and meet different people, So we joke about going to this party tonight, but really, like, since we've been in Los Angeles, we focused on the salon, we focused on the product line. Then it was COVID and we were shut down. So we didn't have an opportunity to build a network and socialize here. So we're making sure that we're putting ourselves in the places to meet the people that we need to meet to make our business keep growing. Mm-hmm. So these are the conversations that we're having with industry icons and leaders that have already done it, that are willing to share their successes, their failures, what they would do differently if they were to start over again. It's really amazing, and it's affordable. It's a $9.99 donation every month to the Worth Up Alliance that gives you unlimited access to hear these stories and to learn from these people. Then, once you've watched all these videos and you feel like you know what you can do, like, some people are going to feel like they have the confidence and courage to go and open up their own business right away. Other people are going to want more. We have an application process that we're putting in place that people will be able to fill out and apply for mentorship with these industry leaders and icons. So you will be able to sit with Ted for an hour. You'll be able to sit with me for an hour. You'll be able to sit with Candy for an hour. The list goes on and on, to talk about where you're at in your business plan, to talk about where you are in finding your location, to talk about where you are in creating your new product line, to help brainstorm, to have someone who's already done it to help you think differently, or maybe get out of your own way, to help see the forest through the trees, that all those things that can slow us down as entrepreneurs or scare us.
Is there a cost for that?
And hold you accountable.
And hold you accountable.
Is there a cost for that?
There is no cost for that. The only cost for that is that you continue your monthly donation of $9.99.
Is that the only cost really at this point associated with anything in the Alliance? Excellent.
Yeah,
right. And 100%. So they would fill out an application, and I'm guessing there's some group of you guys that review the applications and people get selected who you really think have a really good chance of being successful. Yeah. Okay. Right. Perfect. Yeah. Keep going.
So it's like the Shark Tank of beauty.
Well, that's what it sounds like, right?
That's actually the next step. So after you've, the person has completed their sort of mentorship, or they feel like they've gained I keep saying confidence and courage, because that's really what it takes to open your own business. Listen, it took a lot to leave Aveda. I had a 401k. We both had health insurance. I had a really great commission. I had a guaranteed wage beyond, like, it was a big, bold move. We just bought our first apartment in Manhattan. It was a bold move to give all that up and to gamble everything on a new business. And now it's like a drug to us. We're addicted to opening business. We're serial entrepreneurs. We're like, okay, the salon's been open for 2 years. What are we going to do next?
I got an idea. Why don't you make a new brand, a new line of product? That's a great idea.
It is a great idea. So then after they do are you smelling starry? After people
we're going to get to that.
gained the confidence and courage and are ready to take that next step, we will do a Shark Tank-like presentation where the potential grantee, I guess is what it would be, does a presentation for 4 members of the Worth Up Alliance and 4 members of Beauty Changes Lives. And we will choose regional winners, if you will, of these cash grants. And they'll vary, in rural Iowa, $5,000 might be life-changing for you to open your business. In Manhattan, you might need more like $20,000 to help you open your business. So it'll depend on, what your business plan looks like, what your projections look like, and then we'll be able to start giving away money. So our goal before the end of this year is $300,000. We are actively looking for sponsors. So if you are a business owner that is interested in sponsoring the Worth Up Alliance to help other entrepreneurs achieve the levels of success that you've achieved, we want to hear from you. If you are a manufacturer watching this and you Your giving strategy is in line with the mission of Worth Up Alliance to help launch not only new businesses, but to create jobs in communities, to strengthen local economies, to do all of those things that small businesses do. If you're a manufacturer that's in line with that mission, we want to hear from you because we would love to have your sponsorship.
And we totally believe that as next year, 2022, is really going to be a very fantastic year for that to be happening. You know, because through this pandemic, we've all, you know, have had our challenges and but we came through it. If you're watching this, you came through it. And it's really to think about what the future is going to be. And we really truly believe that the Worth Up Alliance is that future to really help small businesses. Jason was just talking about communities. You know, it's vital for us to we're hubs. You know, the hair salon, the beauty salon, the nail salon, the esthetician, the barber. We are the people who really thrive and keep everything going in our communities. So it's really important for us to have visibility, to build our brands back up. And through all the people who are watching right now, we need some help to do that.
I think also the other thing that COVID did is, you know, when you talked about how $5,000 might be significant in Iowa and it might not be that significant in New York, from a financial standpoint, that is true. I think also, but what COVID did is it made us all much more comfortable with this way of communicating, so that if I am in rural Iowa, I could still have a Ted Gibson who's sitting out in Los Angeles mentoring me. I don't have to find somebody in my own backyard because maybe my backyard's not big enough, right? Like maybe I need something, I'm aspiring to something bigger than my own backyard, or maybe I want to do something that maybe I couldn't have learned in school fully. And so I do think that COVID has brought some opportunities in terms of the community being one big community rather than being geographically segmented. So I love that you're leveraging all the good things that happened from COVID. And so I'll quit interrupting you.
I just want to add to that, you know, it's also beyond geographically, it's financially. You know, we wanted to create an organization that was appealing, whether you are charging $10 for a haircut or whether you're charging $2,400 for a haircut. You know, there's room for everyone at the Worth Up Alliance table. You know, so it's not elitist, it's not unapproachable, and we are making a point of making people that maybe to the industry as a whole seem untouchable. We're bringing them to the same level as everyone else and showing how relatable and how their personal story on their journey to their level of success is very similar. You know, growing up in rural Georgia, feeling your feet break through the clay at the lakeshore and feeling the wet clay underneath it, like that's Candy's story. You know, we all come from someplace and worked really hard to get where we are now. And now we all want to share that information.
I love that you mentioned that whether you're charging $10 for a haircut or $2,400 for a haircut, you know, I think that if you're the person who's charging $10 for a haircut, you maybe feel like you're, you know, inferior to other people in the industry. There's that sort of tendency to be like, you know, perhaps they have chosen something that's, you know, beneath other people. And to your point, I think there's room for everybody at the table. I think there are people that model, it works for them, it works for their lives. And certainly there are people out there where a $10 haircut is perfect for them. It's what they want. It fits in their lives. It's uncomplicated. I would guess there's far fewer people that think a $2,400 haircut fits in their lives. That's a much smaller group of people, but clearly that group of people exists too. But to your point, there is room for everyone at the table, and whatever path you choose is a valid path, right? Because I one time had a conversation with the girl who used to color my hair, and she said to me one day, "I'm just a stylist." And I looked at her and I said, "What do you mean you're just a stylist?" She's like, "I don't do anything important." And I said, "Well, I'm just somebody who goes out and does public speaking and, you know, does all these things out in the world. And when I get up and stand on the stage and I feel confident, a good part of the reason I feel confident is because you gave me decent hair, right? And you made my day, and you made all these other people get up and go to work and feel confident about what they're doing because that's one less thing I have to worry about, right? So you're on the right path. I love the path that you guys are on. I don't think you needed me to tell you that, but I just wanted to say it because, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah.
so
Well, you
before
know,
we run out of time, do you have anything else? Go ahead.
Just touch on that for a moment. I mean, the reason why we called our organization that we want all of you to be a part of is called Worth Up, just because of that.
Yeah.
And it started because we, back in April of 2020, Jason and I and some friends, we were talking about, okay, this is a time where right now everyone is feeling like, what do I do? Where do I go? What do I say? So we got a group of about 50 hairdressers, well-known hairdressers, on a Zoom call one afternoon. And the whole thing was to put together a positive message for the industry and put together a positive message so that we can all, you know, put it on our socials at the same time about feeling better about who you are as a hairdresser and just feeling better in general, and that we're all going through this and that we're all going to be okay. And essentially that's what happened. And that's where Worth Up came from. It's from that talk. And then we ended up putting, I guess, about 30 people together, and we put like 3 or 4 videos, 5 videos out that were, you know, about raising your prices and about feeling good about what you do and remembering that you're worth it and remembering all these things that are really important. As you were just saying about this young lady who used to color your hair. Like, no, you're not just a stylist. You're
Not
very,
just a
very,
stylist, right? No,
you're very important.
it's very important. So before we run out of time, I
Yeah.
do, because you were smelling your own wrist and it made me think of it. Of course, I do follow you guys both. I told you on Instagram. I do know you guys started your own line, and I think probably, oh, is that what he's smelling?
Yes.
Oh, I'm telling you, you guys are doing a great job just on your own Instagram. I've actually had the pleasure of being in your salon, which is pretty amazing, a beautiful salon. I did not see your product when I was there. I should have asked more questions when I was there because I'm sure it was probably somewhere right around me. But tell us about that decision. I mean, that's something that took a lot of planning and capital and working with, I'm guessing, chemists and manufacturers. And did you learn a whole new skill set doing this?
Yes.
Yes. Well, you know, this is our second time. We had a product line called Ted Gibson that was very successful. It started off at Henry Bendel in New York City, and then it went into Saks, and then it went into every Saks, and then it went into bang, 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 then into Sephora, and then every door of Sephora. And then in 2008, we were approached by Target, and we had 32 SKUs in 1,000 doors of Target that were an average price of $28 to $32. And then we all know what happened in 2008. Woo, the economy tanked. People weren't going to Target for a $28 bottle of shampoo. And so, you know, this wasn't our first time at the rodeo when we came out with Starring. And actually, that's a great kind of touch point about failure, you know, about the way that the world changed overnight, and the housing market crashed and everything else crashed. And we put so much, we bootstrapped everything. We had $500,000 worth of debt invested, and then everything stopped. And it's like, how do we move forward from this? Great story for you to hear.
So should we blame you because you have started one product, and then we had the mortgage crisis, and you started another one, then we had COVID? Maybe they're both
that makes us pretty badass.
All your fault.
Or we don't have very good timing, but
now we caused COVID. Got it. All right.
But yeah, we did learn a lot. This was a whole new experience with a different manufacturer, new graphic designers, all of that kind of stuff.
Everything was new. And, you know, we wanted to create something in a product that I could use on Lupita Nyong'o, that I could use on Deborah Messing, that I can use on Sandra Oh, that I can use on Annie Hathaway, any girl that I work on. Because for me, my career has always been about textures of hair, not the color of the skin. So you can be very, very dark and have smooth, you know, fine hair, and you can be very, very light and have kinky, coarse hair. So for me, it's always been about texture. So what I wanted to do is, as a stylist, I wanted to create a product that I could use on multi-dimensional hair textures. And that's the reason why. And it's called Shooting Star Texture Meringue. And I use it for everything. It's my
So
go-to.
if anybody listening wants to access that, how do they do it?
Starring by tedgibson.com. If you are a stylist, a professional, you can shop professional.
Wholesale.
If you're not, you have to go to shop yourself.
You have to go to Amazon. Yes. So that was something, you know, that was part of our model for our brand. When we closed our New York store and we came to California, we took a couple of years before we opened Starring because we wanted to think about all of the things that we loved about the beauty business, the salon business specifically, and the things that we less than loved. And so we got rid of a lot of stuff that we less than loved. And one of those things was having $30,000 worth of inventory sitting on a shelf, sort of warehousing it for a big manufacturer. And then waiting for someone who doesn't want to sell it, the hairdresser, and someone who doesn't want to shop in that environment anymore to buy it, which was our customer. You know, she would scan it with her phone and see where she could order it from cheaper than we were selling it, or have it shipped right to her house.
That's
so we decided to, yeah, exactly. So we were the first luxury professional hair care brand to launch exclusively at Amazon, which a lot of people, it ruffled their feathers because, you know, it's one of the ways that Ted and I can be polarizing is we do what we think is the way of the future, not necessarily what we think is.
Amen to that. I hear you. That's my life story right now. So I always try to do what's right, and sometimes people don't like it. So
yeah,
it's true.
and it's okay.
And it's okay, but we knew that we had to do something differently, and that's the reason why we knew that if we were going to open another salon, that we had to have a new thought process around it. So we opened the first smart salon in the world, powered by Amazon and Alexa. We wanted a place where it would be more of an experience center, so that when you come to get your haircut or colored, it's more of an experience rather than, because you know you're going to get great hair. You know, every hairdresser in the world is trained so well now. You can get anywhere to find out how to cut a bob or how to cut bangs or the corrective color, whatever. So you were very, very, very well trained. So we knew that we wanted to create something that would be more of an experience rather than just only a place to get your haircut and color. And I think,
well, I'm going to start saving, and when I have enough money, I'm flying to California and laying my cash down on the table and saying, "Cut my hair and color it, please." But
we're cashless.
Oh. Well, I will Venmo you my money. How about that?
There you go. Exactly. Exactly.
It may be a while before I have the budget for that, but I just love that you have taken what a lot of people would sort of make unattainable, unreachable. A lot of people would take the fame, the ability to do things that you guys can do, have expensive haircuts, start a line, and just sit in their, you know, glass house or their white ivory tower, whatever you want to call it, and look down upon everybody else. You guys have said, look, I'm not, and here's what I think it says. I have confidence. I'm not afraid someone's going to come and be better than me. If you're better than me, amen. If you're as good as me, amen. And I think that it keeps a challenge to you guys to always be fresh and on the cutting edge. And I think that that's the way it should be, right? There may be some young person watching this who says, I'm going to beat them. I'm going to be better than them.
Do it.
I'm going to have, and you know what? Amen. Work for that, right? And work to get to that place. So I really appreciate your time. We will get the information out on our website and on the email that goes out with this about Worth Up Alliance, how people can engage in that process, fill out an application, you know, go through however many of those 3 steps they want to go through, whether it's just the simple, I just need a little encouragement, or I need a mentor, or perhaps I need a mentor and I need some funding. Yes. And then also push out the information, how somebody can try your products out and hopefully be hooked on using them in the future. So I appreciate you guys' time. I know it's really precious to you guys, so appreciate it. I really like you guys as people, so it's really nice to talk to you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte, and thank you, BARBICIDE. You know, I'm just so grateful for the partnerships that we have. And, you know, there aren't many people that can say that. You know, I think that it's important for us to have good relationships. And just thank you.
Thank you. We've worked really hard to be good community partners, right? To be partners to this industry, because look, that's how we all have made our living all these years, is that we feel like we have a good product, but having a good product isn't enough. We have to be good partners. So hopefully we'll be one of your big sponsors here coming up soon. We got our fingers crossed on that. And I look forward to seeing you guys again the next time I'm out in LA, since I'm guessing you don't come to Kansas City very often.
Not very often.
That's okay. All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you.